There are two kinds of people in the world, those who reread and those who don't. No, don't be silly. There are far more than two kinds of people in the world. There are even people who don't read at all. What do they think about on buses? But there are two kinds of readers in the world, though, those who reread and those who don't. Sometimes people who don't reread look at me oddly when I mention that I do. There are so many books, they say, and so little time. If I live to be a mere Methuselah of 800 and read a book a week for 800 years, I will only have the chance to read 40,000 books, and my read pile is already 90,000 and starting to topple. If I reread, why, I'll never get through the new ones. This is, in fact, true. They never will. And my read pile is also, well, let's just say it's pretty large. And that's just the pile of unread books in my house, not the list of books I'd theoretically like to read someday, many of which have not even been written yet. That list probably is at 90,000, especially if I include books that will be written in the next 800 years by people as yet unborn, and books written by aliens as yet unmet. Wow, it's probably well over 90,000. When will I ever read all those books? Well, I read a lot more than one book a week. Even when I'm fantastically busy rushing about having a good time and visiting my friends and family, like right now, I average a book every couple of days. If I'm at home and stuck in bed, which happens sometimes, then I'm doing nothing but reading. I can get through 4 or 6 books in a day. So I could say that there are never going to be sufficient books to fill the voracious maw that is me. Get writing. I need books. If I didn't reread, I'd run out of books eventually, and that would be terrible. But this argument is disingenuous, because in fact, there is that towering pile of unread books in my bedroom at home, and even a little one in my bedroom here in my aunt's house. I don't reread to make the new books last longer. That might be how it started. The truth is that there are, at any given time, a whole lot more books I don't want to read than books I do. Right now, I don't want to read Storming the Heavens, Soldiers, Emperors, and Civilians in the Roman Empire by Antonio Santosuoso, or The Phoenicians and the West, Politics, Colonies, and Trade by Maria Eugenia Obey and Mary Turton. I do want to read both of these books, in theory. Enough theory that they came home with me from the library, but in practice, they both have turgid academic prose that it's work to slog through. I am going to try to slog through the Phoenician one before I go home to Montreal and the book goes home to Cardiff Library, but the other one is going back unread. The Phoenicians, unlike the Romans, are insufficiently written about for me to turn down a solid book for bad prose. But yesterday, when I was picking up books to take to read on the train to London, both of them glowered at me unwelcomingly. I was already in the middle of one pretty good book on Hannibal's army. I wanted fiction. And I didn't just want any old fiction. I wanted something good and absorbing and interesting enough to suck me in and hold my attention on the train so that I wouldn't notice the most boring scenery in the world,